Um, what is your name, current coaching position, and share a bit about your coaching accomplishment.
All right, so my name is Harold Jerome Mason III. I go by Trey. I also coach Trigger at times, depending on what season it is. In the season it is. Current position is a hurdle sprints coach at PVCC. Also, kind of help out with jumps and mid distance, and yeah, that's pretty much it. You said share
Yeah, a little bit about your coaching history and accomplishments.
I think my coaching history is pretty new. I would say some of my coaching accomplishments probably helping my high school team get 6 insured hurdles, men and women's, and I was in high school 2009. And the biggest accomplishment I've had so far at PV, breaking about 6 to 8 school records. You were a part of the 4x4 we had 2019. You broke both our 400 records indoor and outdoors. I had a guy break the 200 records, and we had a girl that just broke our 400 records. So we done a pretty good job pretty early. I have 3 All-Americans, which is pretty good, and we have over 35 top 10 ties over the past year. So it's some good accomplishments. It's not what I want to be, but it's a really great start so far.
Okay. What is your favorite coaching moment or memory?
Man, probably my favorite coaching moment has to go down to 2019. It was at California. We ran 3:15. Very tough situation. Just first, well, not first, but a big time D1 meet with professional athletes. You had a heel injury that we had to kind of stop the 400 hurdles. Tim had his toe injury, and Marcus got to run his 400 race. So they kind of came out to Ivan doing 4 races. And at that time, we only had a time of 3:17, and we're trying to keep advancing to get higher up for nationals. And we ran, I think, one of the most inspiring races I've seen any of the athletes I've done so far in these past 2 years, even in high school. So that's probably one of my fondest memories, not probably as a coach, just in track and field, to see like how all 4 of you guys kind of bonded together and ran y'all's heart out and ran a school record time, which is still here to this day. And even with the team we had last year, ran 3:15, but not nowhere as close as it was for y'all. So that's probably my biggest one so far.
Okay. What is the most difficult coaching moment or incident you faced?
You said difficult or what?
What is your most difficult coaching moment or incident you faced?
Man, I probably have 2. So both were at nationals, both were 2 different athletes. The first one I would say is with you at nationals, the 400 hurdles. Like it was, at that moment, just trying to get you back to healthy to run, and then knowing that we possibly had maybe 1 or 2 good runs in us, and because we had such a small team, doing the 4x4 and then doing that 400 hurdle race, not knowing if that was going to kind of mess you up and you say you were good. And then when we didn't qualify, I was pissed because I knew we could run that time when I sleep, but I also knew that we were hampered with injuries. So I was really devastated just because I felt like that was the closest we had to get All-American, because you were just shooting all year. So I felt for you because it's your last race. And then same thing last year, we had a girl, Yasmin Hatchard, who was, ranked in the top 3 and top 4 all year in junior college in the 400, and went to nationals, and she was at 6 or 7, and all she had to do was just run the time she ran all year, and choked, bad race, whatever you want to say, but it was just not a poor executed race, and I was devastated because you just kind of understand those moments where you're so close to accomplishing what your goals are and they don't happen. And then you got to kind of take out the coaching aspect of it and put yourself back to the human aspect and understand like you guys are hurting. So as much as you want to be upset, understand that in that moment, if I'm saying Calvin, it ain't gonna make anything better. So that's why I wanted with you. I was just trying to make you laugh and seeing even Yasmin. She had another race to do, but those are probably the two most difficult moments. Cause I feel like those are probably our 2 best chances to actually get All-Americans, even though we had chances in like the 4x1 and the 4x4, but those were probably our 2 best that we had.
Okay. Uh, what potential role and impact can coaches have in young people's life? Just any coaches, like just in general.
Man, I think shoot, we on the Zoom call right now. I think for me, my dad was my coach growing up from like little league football, even I guess you could say high school. So I saw the impact that he had and my uncle had on like kids in inner city, and we did football and how they kind of looked out for them. And then even when I became to be a high school athlete, my high school coach, rest in peace, Coach Wilkinson, was like a second dad to me. He believed in me just as much as my parents. And even when I got to OU, Coach Gibson kind of took me under his wing. So when I became a coach, my biggest thing is just trying to make a human connection. So yes, I want you to run fast, but I really want you to be a better person at the end of the day. So if you don't run fast, cool. But if I'm able to help you out later down the line, I think that's key. So I feel like, like relationship with you and other people we met, I think go a long way just with getting the best out of the athlete versus me saying, hey, Calvin, I need you to run. And then like, I don't really care about, if you come to me, hey, coach, like I'm having some serious like problem, like how does that impact or what does that got to do with us running these times before the hurdles? I'm like, man, forget this coach. So I think it plays a huge thing. I think nowadays you see all these high school coaches or collegiate coaches and these athletes that they have that stay with the coaches post-collegiate or keep giving them love or go back to the school they was at to kind of give back to the place that kind of helped them out. So I think it makes a really big role than it did maybe when I was in college, 8 years ago, even in high school, 10 years ago.
Okay. Uh, how has coaching changed over time, especially considering like generational change?
Man, you like from Jackie Robinson, not Jackie Robinson, I'm sorry, man, I can't think of his name now, but for when the Olympics and when you're running in dirt and like type of cleats type of running, even my parents were in high school, they were on like grass surfaces or maybe even cement. I mean, not aging too much, but like, from track and field aspect, like just from when I was in high school, like maybe it wasn't a big emphasis on like fitness or eating right. Like you could eat, like I was eating McDonald's after practice or like going to like the local gas station and getting the subs and stuff like that. And, maybe sleeping pattern wasn't really big of a thing. Maybe, lifting wasn't big. I barely even lift in high school. My head coach came over and said, the football coach is coming over for us to kind of get stronger. I'm like, I'm not trying to get swole like the football players. Like I didn't believe in lifting. So I think just from a standpoint of the past 10 years on the track and field aspect, training has become so much more in depth and more like technology and more advanced. Just with the training that you have, with the spikes. Now there's post or after practice stuff you can take, supplements you can take. Hopefully not steroids, because then like you're just gonna be screwed. But man, like I said, like just with you, like when I was in your age, like I was trying to become a better hurdler, not thinking like I gotta work on my blocks, I gotta get more explosive, I gotta like it's so much more technique that I think athletes like yourself have a way better chance to be successful than I did, or even previous generations. That's why I'm not really one of those people like I might joke you and say I ran this time such and such in high school, but I know for a fact that you're at a way better spot than I was at any point before I got to OU, because you're just having way more better coaching and having a better system to kind of keep your body in check so you're able to perform at a high level daily versus, you go there, drop a time, and then next week your hamstrings are messed up because you were doing the wrong stuff throughout the whole week. So it's going to change the next 10 years. So that's the exciting part of it. And you'll be in that kind of that gap. And then when 10 years from now, you'll be like, bro, like, the kids are running even faster than I was. Like we saw a guy go 19.4. I didn't see as I got to like then or even like college. So like, we're seeing that in junior college, like even like, sub youth kids running like, 11 seconds for, age bracket for guys or girls running, under a minute. It's just like, I don't know how they're getting faster, but they are. So power to them. I know I couldn't do it, and that's why I'm retired. I'm coaching, so leave it up to you.
Okay. What kind of relationship do you try to create with your athletes, and why are relationships so important, just generally speaking?
I think relationships are important with athletes. I don't think every athlete that you have will. I think you have to coach everyone differently. So how I was able to relate to you was I saw when I got to the job, it was an athlete who I could relate to, but someone who I saw in myself and someone who I saw that potential. So my intentions was to push you at every aspect I could. That wasn't just in track; it was just like in life in general. So the way that I coach you, probably couldn't coach everyone like that because some people can't take uh, tough training. So it could be different how I coach you to someone else. Someone else may need a little bit more different of approach. So you might be more hands off and more supportive than like coming down on them, stuff like that. But I think it helps a lot because for us, like when you pulled your hamstring or tweaked it at regionals, man, when you was crying, I felt that. Like I felt like my season was over, and I cried as well because I just knew how much you wanted to keep performing to get to the next level and to get to scholarship. So it hurt me to my core. And I remember telling you, like, I'm not going to let you down. So I hate letting any of my athletes down because when I see my athletes in junior college, like I see myself. I see someone who is trying to figure out how to get to the next level, trying to figure out how to keep, proving the naysayers wrong or keep trying to prove it something to myself. So as a coach, I really have no ego as in, my success, your success is my success. Like your failures are my failures. So when you fail, I'm right there with you, like hurt. When you succeed, I'm right there happy with you. So I think having a strong relationship with your athletes, they just have to know that you care about them. Like no matter how good as you are, you could be a world class coach, but be anal about stuff, and you won't get the best out of your athletes because they can't respect you. So I think being authentic and being your real self is cool. Not saying that's always going to be, going to be positive because there's some people that are just not going to reciprocate to you at all. So that's why I said just having different ways of coaching different people, but 9 times out of 10, if you're able to connect with someone, they're going to do everything they can for you. So that's how I kind of look at it. We're just having a good relationship with athletes.
Okay. How do you motivate different kinds of athletes and personalities?
Some certain athletes I think are just so like game day or meet day, whatever your sport is, like can get too far into themselves. So some people like you don't really want to rev up too much because if they get too much anxiety, they'll go out there and blank out and not execute a race. So someone who needs to be more calm or someone who has meet anxiety, you just kind of want to keep them, just keep them calm, allow them to feel natural, and just, even if it's like a warm-up lap, maybe you give them like a lap to walk just to kind of calm the nerves down versus some people might just be energetic and on go. So no matter what you say to them, it's going to feed them. So for me, when I was in college, meet day, man, Coach Gibson, he just let us just rock. So like all week, you kind of coach, and then meet day, kind of let people go on their own. But for athletes that kind of need to be reeled in, you kind of make sure that throughout the week you're preparing them and kind of getting their mindset ready. Because we had meets where people come to the meet and they're just like stressed out and they had a bad morning, they couldn't sleep, and then like they go out and run and then they perform bad. And I'm like, well, what happened? And they say, well, this and that. I'm like, well, we have to work on that because we can't get too much anxiety going up. So it just depends. Every athlete is going to be different, but most elite athletes, you don't need much pushing and do. You kind of just push them in the direction they go on their own. But some athletes, not saying you have to baby them, you got to make sure that their mindset is ready. It's almost like a thermometer in the house. Like, when if you set your house for 70 degrees and then whenever the temperature goes, the house always adjusts itself back. So just trying to get athletes to kind of always stay centered, whatever that might be. And of course, you can still do that and they still blow up. So at that point, then, you kind of out of options. But I'm still learning in my young career just how to operate with different people I come across. A lot of different athletes who have different mindsets that approach things a lot different, and just trying to get an understanding that our preparation starts throughout the week and how we kind of operate with meet days.
Okay. How do you choose team captains and what roles do you see them playing in the team dynamic you try to create?